Hey class, I hope everybody's doing well. And I hope you had a great Easter and a good spring break. I know for me, I felt like it's kind of the seventh inning stretch, in a baseball game. So it was really needed. I needed to get up and rest and everything else, and now to finish out the rest of the year, right? We're almost there. Yeah. Okay. Well, I do sincerely hope that you had a good break. So, and that you're doing well in your Latin. It looks like by your guys' test scores that everybody's doing a good job. Don't forget, if you haven't turned in your test scores from chapter 10, to go on ahead and send those in to me. Let's start today with some questions. So this week we had a couple of questions that were a little repetitive. You probably already figured them out because you're already through the end of your test, but if you want to open up your test and take a look at Pensum B, numbers 6 and 7. Let's start there. I apologize, I didn't have my book open to there. Okay, so 6 and 7. So what this is saying here is the fish are animals which swim in the maribus, out in fluminibus. So they swim in either the seas or in the rivers. And some people were asking if it was okay to have the singular there versus the plural, and when do we use seas versus sea or rivers versus river. And I'm just going to tell you, don't worry. It's like that song, don't worry. Right, okay, I'm not going to go there. But anyways, if you ended up writing in there the ablative singular, I just want to say hats off to you, because that's actually more difficult to remember that mare is one of our eight-eyed monsters. So it would be mari in the ablative singular. And the word for river there would be flumine, which is actually also harder to remember versus just putting ibis on the end. So well done if you put in the singular. Either one is acceptable. The other question that came up was from Pensum D. So if you want to flip your test over to Pensum D and take a look at number 3. The question was, so that the English reads, the boys can't find the bird's nest because the nests are hidden by branches. And that may have tricked some of you guys, the ending part there, by branches, because you think, oh, we need the preposition by here. So you may have put a ramis. But why don't we do that? So if you can remember, tell your mom. Okay, the reason why we don't do that is because branches are a thing, right? And remember, we have that ablative of means, no prep allowed. So when it's a thing being used, then we don't put that preposition there. We just put in no preposition there. So we would just say ramis, so by the branches. So the nests are hidden by means of the branches. Okay, so, and that's different than if it was by a person or something like that. In that case, then you would keep the by. Okay, so there's a couple of times that we're not using the by, that there's no prep. That's like by a town or from a town, remember, or by means of something. Okay, so if you need more clarification on that, just shoot me an email and we can even chat on the phone or something. So no problem. All right, so good news, there is no quiz this week. Whoop, yep, do the dance. Okay, so no quiz. Again, don't forget to turn in your test scores. I've gotten most of them, but I'm still missing some. And then the other thing is that I've written down is make sure to keep me updated on how you guys are doing. And the last thing that I need from you, just as like kind of a maintenance thing before we really jump into the lesson, is also don't forget to send me pictures of your eight-eyed monsters. Once I get everybody's in, then I'm going to put a little compilation together like in one PDF so everybody can kind of scroll through them and see them. It'll be kind of fun. But okay, that's mostly it for maintenance. All right, let's jump into today's lesson. So we were supposed to go over in today's lesson the basic one, like Latin 1 on verbs information. You were supposed to have done that yesterday, and I didn't get any questions from that, so I'm assuming that you guys are good to go on that, but please make sure to send me questions if you do have any. The only thing I saw on there that I would say really actually words it better than I probably even did in my videos is number 26, where it says, so this is right at the end of your chapter 10, so it's what you did yesterday. It's the one that kind of looks like this. Basic Latin 1 Information on Verbs, chapters 1 through 10. If you look down at number 26, it says, you know to use an infinitive when you see blank. And that in that blank, you're supposed to have written another verb in the same clause. And I think that's a really good distinction, because you have seen many times where there are sentences with more than one verb, but there's no infinitive. And that's because they're in different clauses. So this is a good way to put this, and probably would have been helpful in how we worded it in like one of our previous videos when we were just introducing the idea of an infinitive. So that's a great one to take note of. That's new for this chapter. The other one that's new for this chapter is number 27, which is really very much the same thing. It's just to remember to use a passive infinitive when you see two things. One, the ablative, meaning by, in there. That's kind of an indication, like ding, 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 ding. There's probably a passive verb. And then if there's another verb, again, in the same clause. Okay? So, all right, let's move on. Kind of exciting. Sorry, I'm downstairs in my basement today, not upstairs in my kitchen. And so if I kind of have to bend over, it's because I don't have an awesome table in front of me. So today we are going to start on chapter 11. So I want you to open up and let's take a look and let's just talk about this picture here for a minute. Okay. This is a chapter really on the body, and you're going to find that it's a hilarious chapter because you're going to be meeting, let's see, is this the one? Yes, it's the one where you're back and forth about the doctor. So I didn't want to say that and be wrong. It's pretty funny. But you're going to be learning the different parts of the human body. But let's take a minute before we move on, and I just want to share with you a little something. And if you have approval from your parents, you may go on ahead and stop the video and start the one that I've attached to the email it's another YouTube video on what's called the dying gall, okay? So let me show you a picture of the real statue. This is kept in the Capitoline Museum in Rome. It's a magnificent piece of art that was actually originally made in bronze during the Hellenistic periods around the 300s BC. They used to think when they first found it that it was a dying gladiator, and you can see kind of here in his side some blood and different things here. This is actually him dying. Okay, they used to think he was a dying gladiator, but now later, just after having studied it and things, they can tell by this ring around his neck, which is called a torque, his hair and his mustache, which the video will kind of go into a little more details about that, that this was actually a gall. So let me show you the back while I tell you a little more. So here's the back. Okay, the back of it. I mean, it's just brilliant. It's made out of marble, and like I said, it was originally made out of bronze. It was made by Attalus I of Pergamon to celebrate his victory over the Galatians, or we might call them the Celts or the Gaulish people, from parts of modern Turkey. So it's interesting. I'll show you the last picture while I tell you the last bit. This is just a close-up of, the details. You can see the anguish really in his face. But the last little bit here is that it's interesting that they would put this sort of thing up as their commemoration for this, defeat, because it's not like this victorious kind of sculpture. Instead, it's kind of honoring really for the bravery of these Gauls. So worthy adversaries. So anyways, a little bit of history there that is pretty neat, that Orberg, the author of our book, he put some real Roman things in there. So anyways, hopefully you enjoy that little 4 or 5 minute video. Apparently back in 2013, this statue was actually brought from Italy for one of the first times to our National Art Gallery. So that's kind of cool. All right, are you ready to jump in? Now, this is very likely, like the other lessons that we've done, to be a rather long one. So feel free to chop it off when you start getting tired and finish it tomorrow, because tomorrow you're just supposed to work on pre-vocabulary. So you'd have time to finish this. All right, so when we're jumping in and we're thinking about this chapter, you're going to need 2 things. You need or 3 things, I'm sorry. You need your book, you need your workbook with your vocabulary sheet out, and I also want you to have this sheet out. This is one of your grammar exercises. Okay, and we're just going to take a minute and go through this and just remind ourselves some of these things and fill in our blanks, okay? So if you've got this sheet in front of you and a pencil, let's look at the top. It says, third declension neuter nouns come to us in this what? What do you think? Just like we've said with our first and second declension nouns, they come to us in this family, or we can call it a declension. So you can write family in there, or you can write declension. I like to write the word family. And they come with their own endings. Now, you've already memorized these endings. This is nothing new, okay? But these third declension neuter nouns are tricky because they almost always have a blank which must be memorized. And what was that? That was a stem change, okay? So they changed the way that they look, right? Remember how we went from flumen to flumina, for example. So their stems actually changed. That E in flumen changed to an I in flumina. All right. Actually, that was our first example. It was one flumen, so unum flumen, duo flumina. So you should write in there, so it was one flumen, duo flumina. So that's one of your blanks. Okay, that was from chapter 10. All right, you also have a chart down here. So let's take a minute and put our chart up on the board. Okay, so we know our masculine and feminine is, you should have this down pat. Any ace, ace, is, or e, ibis, ibis. Good. Your neuter, which is not, this one is not for your eight-eyed monsters, okay? Your neuter is any, and then the ending was, remember it was flumen, flumina, okay? This is the same as that one, so any, right, neuter law, any, then these pretty much look the same. Is, e, ibis, ibis. Okay, now if you notice, we didn't get to these blanks here. Something about a corpus, a unum crus, and an unum caput. We're going to get to that as we're reading, okay? But you'll also notice down at the bottom that there's another little art exercise. Now this one is not going to really use as much of your creative powers. Well, I guess you could kind of make him look better, but you're going to be drawing this one repeatedly, so a stick figure guy is probably not a bad idea. Although you could make this one on here look pretty cool if you are really into art. That's up to you. Okay, so we will be drawing him, the art piece, as we go. Okay, so you need to have your book out, and let's see, I'm going to move this just slightly. You need your book out and flipped open to page 119, and your workbook open with your vocabulary page. Okay, here we go. So I'm going to read it, and then you can always pause it and repeat it back and translate it for your parent. And then flip it back on and listen to the translation. Okay, but I'm not going to pause each time because it just takes up more time. Okay. Corpus humanum quattuor membra habet, duo brachia, et duo crura. Okay, so let's take a look. So the chapter's title is Corpus Humanum. What do we think that might mean? So that means the human body. The human body. So let's go ahead and translate the sentence, and then we'll write in the new vocabulary. Corpus humanum, so the human body, now we go to the verb habet, has 4 membra. 4 members, 4 limbs. Okay? So we've got 3 new words in there, so let's go ahead and pause and write those in. So we have corpus, which is body. And I want you to look in the margin, and you will find that corpus has a plural, which is corpora. So look there for your spelling, and we'll put it up on the board in just a little bit. Okay, and then we have the word humanus, which is an adjective, which means human. And then membrum, which means limb of the body. Okay, limb of the body. And its plural there is membra. So this is just a regular second declension neuter, isn't it? Membrum, membra. Not a third declension, not one of these. Okay? We're going to highlight all the ones that are third declension. So actually highlight corpus, because that's your first third declension noun. So take your highlighter out, highlight corpus. That's your your second, I guess, third declension neuter noun. First one for this chapter. Okay, duo brachia et duo crura. So 2, now look at your picture, 2 arms and 2 legs. Okay, so brachium was arm. So what declension is this? Is that one of these? It's not. It comes to us with that ending. So remember, any of these, if it comes us or a or right? Any of these, if it comes to us looking like that, it's not going to be one of our third declensions, right? The nominative singular should not look like that if it's going to be a third declension neuter noun. Okay, it's going to come to us with some sort of different ending. All right, so brachium, brachia are arms. Okay, so that's just a regular second declension neuter. Your next one was crus. This means leg. Crura. Now look in your margin for how that's spelled. Crus, crura. Now this one, guess what, is our third declension, but second one for this chapter. Third declension neuter noun. And we're going to begin our picture. Okay, so if you remember, we had a river. Now I'm only going to draw a part of it. Okay, I'm going to draw legs. Okay, so the river's kind of going behind him. He is standing in the water, so you can't see his feet. Okay, so, and now I'm going to label this. This was our flumen. Now I want you to do this on your picture too, okay? Flumen, flumina. These are called what? One leg was crus. The plural was crura. Now I want you to draw big. You got to leave enough room to put the head and stuff on here, okay? But I want you to draw a big circle around the whole thing, okay? This is what we're going to call the body, the whole thing. This is corpus corpora. Okay, let's make sure you can see all that. Yep, you can see it. Okay. All right, so there's the start of our picture. Okay, and this is really going to help you because it's really hard to remember which ones are the neuter versus which one, neuter third declension versus these other ones. So this artwork makes a huge difference in the learning curve for remembering which ones are which and which ones do what. It's a good way to just memorize it. Okay, so that was all just in our first sentence. Okay, let's try the second sentence. Brachia membrum est, crus membrum est. So the arm is a limb, the leg is a limb. In brachio manus est, in crure pes. So make sure to look at your picture, translate that with your parent. So on the arm is a manus, hand. On the leg, I can't lift my leg that high, is a foot, a pace. All right, so let's go ahead and write those words onto our I guess it's just manus, onto our vocabulary sheet. I'm going to get this up a little higher for myself. Let's put it over here. Okay, so hand was manus, and hand, the plural, if you look in the margin, una manus, duo manus. Okay, stop right here for a second. I want you to know, and go ahead and mark this on the side, that this is a fourth declension noun. Do you remember we said that there are 5 declensions? So far we've learned first and second, and we've learned and we've learned thirds, these funky thirds, right? Your fourths, we have not started yet. This is your first one. Just so you know, you don't have to have all the endings memorized till next chapter, but if you want to get a head start on it, it's not a bad idea to get started on that one. Okay, so this one goes us, 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 and then it keeps going. But your nominative singular is us, your nominative plural is us. So there's that required macron. I'll write this up here. Manus, and then the plural is manus. Okay, so there's a required macron over the nominative plural. I don't want to confuse you, so I'm actually going to erase that. Okay, but just so you can see that, that's what that looks like. And we can tell by the adjective that's modifying una manus and duai manus in our margin that hand is what gender? It's feminine. Okay, so you can write feminine in there. All right, and we already know that pace is pedes, pace pedes, a masculine third declension noun. Okay, all right. Duai manus et duo pedes in corpore humano sunt. So 2 hands and 2 feet are on the human body. Now, if you take, I attached in your email a PDF that looks at the numbers and how they decline, okay? So if you take a look at 2 and how it declines, you'll see why we need duai manus, right? That is a feminine plural nominative versus duo pedes, which is what? A masculine plural nominative. Okay. All right. No new words there. Let's keep going. Quae sunt membra corporis? Quae sunt membra corporis? Which are the members of the body? Which are the limbs of the body? Membra corporis sunt brachii, I keep wanting to say that wrong, et crura. The members or the limbs of the body are the arms and the crura, the legs. That funky neuter, third declension. Okay. Corpus hominis duobrachia habet. The body of a human has duobrachia, 2 arms. Corpora bestiarum brachia non habent. I gotta pick this up, I think. I'm reading weird. Okay, so the body of beasts do not have brachia, arms. In corpore unum caput est, non duo capita. That's good. So on the body is unum caput, 1 head, non duo capita. All right, so there is our next third declension neuter. So this means head, and the plural, just like we saw in our sentence, is capita. So its gender is neuter. Okay, so our guy needs a head. So draw him a head, and let's label his head as caput, and plural is capita. Okay. In capite sunt oculi et auris, nausus et os. Okay, lots of new words here. In the capite, so in the head or on the head, are oculi, what is that? Eyes, et auris, ears, nasus et os, a nose and a mouth. Okay, so a couple of new words here. Auris, plural is aures, means ear. Okay, now if we look at this one, auris, aures, that is one of our third declensions. Now, how do we determine if it's masculine or feminine again? Remember, we look at that Avon rule. It does start with A, so this one is actually a feminine. We would also, let's see, nope, we can't tell by, oh, there's the little picture. If you look in the margin, there's the picture with the eye and the mouth and the ear. Okay, great. All right, the other word that you need to write down is mouth. So os. And guess what? Its plural is ora. What does that look like? It started with os, and then it changes, a stem change, right? And the ending is a. We have another third declension neuter noun. Okay, so let's put a mouth on him. He's very happy. So I'm going to put a happy mouth on him. And I will write os ora. Okay? All right. We're doing well. Okay. Supra caput capillus est. Now look in the margin. So above the head, really kind of not that far above, just right here. It would be interesting if my capillus was way up here. You can't even see way up here. Yeah, that'd be crazy. Okay, I'd have a big afro. All right. Anyways, supra caput, above the head, is capillus, hair. So I'm going to write that one in, capillus. This is just a regular second declension masculine noun. All right, capillus virorum non tam longus est quam feminarum. So the hair virorum of men is not as long as, so we have that tom quam, as, right? They connect. As feminarum, of women. That's plural there, of women. Supra oculos frons est. So if you look in your picture, the frons. So above the eyes is the frons, the forehead. Okay, this is frons. This is kind of an easy one to remember. It sounds like Danes, and then how do we make the plural? Daintes. Mons, montes. Frons, guess what? Frontes. Okay, so it's not too hard there. Frontes. However, and just like I told you, remember how I said in the last, whenever it was that we introduced these, I think chapter 9, when we had this Avon rule, we said that this is just kind of the beginning, right? And that it's not a hard and fast rule like every single time, and then that means there's no other ones. It's not like that, okay? This is a general guideline. Well, guess what? Frons here is also a feminine noun, okay? Something you probably are just gonna have to memorize. All right, so you might want to highlight that or put a little star next to it to remember that gender. Okay. All right. So we had supra oculos frons est, so above the eyes is the forehead. Infra oculos genae sunt. So this one means, this is the opposite. So supra meant above, infra is what? Below. Below. Both of these are prepositions. They're not our in cum subex, in cum abex sine, sub de pri pro. They're not one of those. So they don't take an ablative object. They take what? An accusative. Okay. So we should have, just like we do when we look there, we have supra oculos in the accusative. After infra, we have oculos again, an accusative. So below the eyes are the genae, the cheeks. Okay? So this word in your vocabulary list is gena. So we're going to put the singular meaning here, meaning cheek. So write in cheek. Oh, we forgot infra. You'll write below. We get the word inferior from this. Just like with supra, we got superior, right? So we can kind of think of our English to help us remember what those mean too. Okay, and infra, again, write it in. It takes what case? The accusative, because it's not one of our 9 that take the ablative, right? Okay, so let's go ahead and keep reading. So we have post frontem cerebrum est. Okay, post frontem cerebrum est. Kind of a cool word to say, actually. Okay, so after, we would think post would be after, but it also can mean behind. So behind the frontem, behind the forehead, is the cerebrum. We need that, don't we? The brain. So go on and write in the brain. Write in brain for cerebrum. And again, we see post frontem, another prepositional phrase there. After post comes an accusative. Good. Okay, so qui cerebrum parvum habet, stultus est. Uh-oh, guess what? Latin is teaching you a word you're probably not allowed to say at home. Okay, see if you can translate it. Qui, so remember that is a person who has a parvum cerebrum, a small brain, est stultus. Stupid. Okay, I said it. Go on ahead and write that word into your vocabulary. Stupid. All right. Don't hate me, moms. All right, let's try the next page. Go on and turn your book. Quot aures in capite sunt? Quot aures. So how many ears are on the head? I hope the answer is going to be 2. Okay. In capite duae aure sunt. On the head are 2 ears. Quot ora in capite sunt, in capite unum os est. So we're going to translate those. How many mouths are on the head? On the head is 1 mouth. In ore lingua et dentes insunt. So in the ore, so again, this is a neuter, so this was an ablative. In, right? Os ora, it keeps its stem change. Oris, orum, ori, oribus, orre, oribus. Okay, so you can see how it changes. Keeping that stem change from with all of these. Okay. All right. So in the mouth, and then we have in sunt, right? So it's really saying in the mouth are the tongue, lingua, et dentes. So lingua is a new word. Tongue is spelled kind of weird. It's Tongue. G-U-E there, tongue. Kind of a weird spelling there. Okay. Dentes sunt albi ut margaritae. Dentes, so teeth, are white as margaritae, pearls. Unless you lived like during this time when once you became an adult, they probably weren't very white. Lingua rubra est ut rosa. The tongue is as red as a rose. Homines oculis vident, et auribus audiunt. So homines, humans, they audiunt, they hear. Let's go to vident first. Homines vident oculis. So these are things, right? This is an ablative ending, oculis. These are things used. So there's, again, no prep allowed. This is one of those ablative of means, okay, that we talked about at the very beginning. So humans see by means of their eyes, or we could just say with their eyes, and they hear auribus. There's no prep allowed. So what kind of ablative was it? An ablative of means. Good. Auribus. So by means of their ears. So we could just translate it kind of smoothly, saying humans see with their eyes and hear with their ears. Oh, okay. It's kind of weird laughing at yourself, but oh well. I'm pretending that I'm laughing with you. Okay. Homo qui oculos bonos habet, bene videt. Qui oculos malos habet, male videt. Okay, so we have some relative clauses in here. I want you to mark those out first. Okay, so I want you to put brackets around your 2 relative clauses here. Remember, a relative clause starts with a relative pronoun. So the qui, qui, quotes. All right, so you should have marked out in brackets qui oculos bonos habet. So that should be in brackets. Okay, not parentheses. Let's see if I can make a parentheses. Not parentheses, but brackets. Okay, I want them straight. Okay, because our parentheses are for our prepositional phrases. Okay, and then you should have bracketed out qui oculos malos habet. So let's just translate without the relative clauses here. We would just say a man or a human, a person, right? Homo bene videt, sees well. And then it just says sees badly, sees poorly. All right, so it kind of would make more sense with those relative clauses in there, okay? So a human Now let's look at that first relative clause. Who has good eyes, sees well. And then we could kind of supply the word human again to here. Or you could even translate it he who for that next qui. So it could be a human who or he who has bad eyes sees poorly or sees badly. I don't think any of those. Oh, look at those. All of those are new words and I just like ran right past them. Okay, ruber, rubra, rubrum. This is where we get the word ruby. So we were talking about the tongue. That means red. Okay. The next little word, ut, and I'm so sorry, I just passed it right up. Ut is a new word and it means like or as. So as you could see in our previous paragraph, when we said that teeth are white as pearls and the tongue is red as roses, okay? We were making similes there, right? We were comparing two things using like or as. So this little word, ut, is our like or as word. Bene and male, if we're looking at this, look at your sentence. So we're back to the sentence we were on, where it says bene videt and male videt. Now I want you to think about this. Those two words, bene and male, they are describing what word in the sentence? Are they describing the person? No. They're describing how they see, okay? So that means it's describing a verb. So those words are not adjectives, are they? A word that modifies a verb is an adverb, okay? All right, so right next to, on your vocabulary list, I want you to write in parentheses adverb next to those two, okay? Those are adverbs. The first one means well. We don't say he sees good, right? Nope, we are so smart. We say he sees well. So that's how we're going to, when we are telling whether or not, I'm messing this up. When we're describing how we're doing something, a verb, we use the word well, okay, in English. Male means badly. We get the word malice from here. Ooh, all right, or malicious. You could also translate it as poorly. That would be a fine translation as well. Okay, let's move on. Okay. Qui aures bonas habet, bene audit. Qui aures malas habet, male audit. So here we have a person who has good ears hears bene. Remember how to translate that? Not good, doesn't hear good. He hears well. He hears well. A person who has bad ears, male audit. Hears poorly, hears badly. And we're going to see a really funny example of this as you keep reading with Syra. So that'll be fun. Okay. Julius oculos bonos habet, itaque Julius bene videt. So Julius has good eyes, and so, or thus, Julius sees well. Julius sees well. Syra aures malas habet, itaque Syra male audit. Poor Syra. Okay, Syra has bad ears, and so Syra hears male poorly. Okay, caput, next paragraph, caput supra colum est. I think this is a new word. Oh, no, it's not. Okay, so caput, the head, is above the column. Not the colus, which is hill, but the column, which is just a neuter second declension noun, okay? The column, cola would be plural, right? Okay. Infra colum est pectus. So again, we have that new word, that new preposition, infra. And what do we have? After it, we have colum, which is not in the nominative. It's in the accusative singular there. So below the colum is the, yes, your pecs, your pectus. Okay, guess what? We get to add something more to our picture. Now, I am just such a brilliant artist that I'm going to draw the chest looking like, actually, I'm going to make it a little bit bigger. Just a wee bit. Okay, here's the dude's chest. Okay? You know when they say you're working out your pectoralis muscles, your pecs, you know, they're like, oh, I'm going to get big pecs by doing a bunch of push-ups or what is that called? Bench press? Okay. But that's where we get that actual word for the muscle. Okay, so we have pectus, and then a stem change, pectora. Okay? So draw that into your little guy, add it to your vocabulary sheet, and we know because anything that goes in this picture, okay, on this page, right? I've drawn my little guy, okay? On that page, anything that's in that picture is what? A third declension neuter noun. Not a third eye, not an eight-eyed, okay? So it's not the exception, it's the regular neuter, third declensions. Okay. So on your vocabulary sheet, you should write pectora for the plural, and the gender is neuter. Okay, so chest there. All right, we're almost finished. In pectore, cor, pum 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 pum, et pulmones sunt. Hopefully I gave you enough hints. And the hints are also in this really cool picture over here, okay, in our margin. And also the spellings for our, are also in our margins for our plurals. Okay, so we have, I lost my spot. So in the chest is are the heart, thump, 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 the core, et pulmones, the lungs. Okay, the lungs. So let's write those on our vocabulary sheet. We already have had oh yes, that was last chapter. Pulmones. And our new one, I wish I had a red marker, but it's upstairs in my kitchen, I guess. So I'm going to write my little heart in here, okay? My heart is called my core. Whoops. My core. And the plural is corda. Corda. Okay? Corda. You know what I just realized is the poor guy probably needs, the top to his legs maybe. So he's going to be kind of a funny looking guy because he's not going to have arms, right? Because that's not a neuter third declension. It's a neuter second declension. He's not going to have hands or eyes or ears or hair. And he won't have a stomach. Okay? So he's a funny looking guy. That's partially why we do it, is so we can remember it, right? Okay. All right, so you should have written heart for core, and its plural is corda. And of course we know it's on this picture, so it is a neuter. Okay. In corde sanguis est. In corde, so if we're looking up here, this is our ending. So it was corda, corda. Cordis, remember we keep that stem change, cordis, cordum, cordi, cordibus, corde, cordibus. So in the heart is sanguis. Any guesses on what that is? Blood. In the heart is blood. So that's a new word, sanguis. This is also a third declension, but it's one of these. It does have a stem change. Instead of sanguis, it becomes sanguines. Sanguines. And that is in your margin. But I want you to notice something. In your margin, it says sanguinis. Okay, we usually have in our margin, we will give you the nominative singular, nominative plural. But if you were to open up a dictionary, when you open it up, and I'll explain this more as we get to it, it'll probably be more next year, but when you open it up, you'll often see the genitive singular. So, and that's because in the 5 declensions, the only thing that's always different in each one is your genitive singular form, okay? So I want you to take a note in the margin of your book, okay? I want you to see, do you see how sanguis, right next to it, I wrote genitive. And then down here for venter, I also wrote genitive because I want you to understand that that's the genitive, that's not the plural, okay? So that really, I feel like, should be marked in your book, but it's not. So we're going to add that to it because the plural for this is actually sanguines, okay? And when we get to venter, it's ventres, okay? So they're just giving you this form here, all right? So make sure that you mark that in your book. And if for some reason your mom's not sitting here, pull her book out and mark that in her book too, okay? All right. So the stem change here is what they're asking. So on your vocabulary sheet, they're also saying, give me the stem, which is kind of weird, but you want sanguine. So that changes from sanguis to sanguine. Okay, and then you'd fill in the A, sanguinem, sanguines, sanguinis, okay, and so forth. Does that make sense? I hope it does. If it doesn't, shoot me an email. Okay. So, in the heart is blood. So now we're on line 26. Color sanguinis ruber est. So the color of sanguinis, of the blood, is ruber, is red, So we have a ruber here, not rubra or rubrum, so that's in the masculine, modifying the word sanguis, so we know, right, that this is a masculine noun, sanguis. Okay. It's not our Avon rule anyway, so we can guess that it was probably a masculine. Okay. Sanguis per venas ad cor fluit. Okay. So what does blood do? Blood fluid. It flows per venas, through the veins, to the cor, to the heart. Okay, so new word there, vena. It means vein, which vein is spelled V-E-I-N, I before E except after C or when sounding like A as in neighbor or way. Vein, A, or right, there's that A sound, so it's E-I, vein, or you could also write blood vessel. Okay, blood vessel. Fluere is where we get this verb, fluit. So it is a number 3. It's not a third I. It means to flow. It's where we get the word fluid. Okay, fluid. All right. Sanguis in venis fluit, ut aqua in flumenibus. So we have that ut there again. We have another simile here. All right, sanguis flows, or blood flows in the veins or in the blood vessels like aqua in fluminibus, like water in rivers. Infra pulmones ester venter. Okay, so infra, so below the pulmones, which would be inside of his chest, is the venter, the stomach. Now, we're not going to draw it on here because it's not a neuter, right? This is a masculine venter. I think it's just a regular, it's one of our, sorry, not a regular, it's our third declension masculine here. Venter, ventris. So when it changes over, it goes venter, and then it changes to when, and there's our stem change there. Okay, it loses this E. And so it goes venter, ventris, ventrem, ventris, and so forth. Okay? Oh, and then ventris here is what you see in your margin again. Okay? All right. So you need to write in this stem change here. Okay, you could actually put a dash after it to show that then you put the ending in. And it's a masculine, has a masculine gender. Funny enough, ventriloquist is from this. I have no idea why. Oh, you know what? Actually, let's think about this. Loquist, so comes from the verb loqui, which you won't learn for a while, but it means to speak. So it's like to speak from your stomach rather than from your like mouth. Huh, that's so cool. I just figured that out while we were sitting here. I've never thought about that one before. That's pretty cool. Okay. I think I'm going crazy in my basement talking to myself. Oh well, you are having to listen to a crazy Latin teacher. All right, so let's see. We are on line 28. So below the pulmones, below the lungs, is the venter, the stomach. In ventre quibus est. In ventre. So again, we can see that it was one of our third declension masculine nouns. So its ablative is e. Okay. So in the stomach is quibus, food. Not in mine though. I'm getting hungry. How about you? Okay. Homo qui ventrem malum habet, quibum sumere non potest. Okay. So again, we have a relative clause here. I want you to find it and put brackets around it. Okay, so our relative clause starts with qui, quae, quods, one of those. All right? Quem, quam, quods. Cuius, cuius, cuius. Right? We remember those? Okay, so you should have put your brackets around qui ventrem malum habet. So if we just take that out, we would say a man, homo, and then we skip to quibum. Okay? Actually, let's look at this. This is one of our complementary infinitives, right? A man is not able to take up sumere, quibum. So it's kind of, this would be like another word for, I think what they're trying to get across here is to digest, okay? So a man is not able to take up quibum. So we had our infinitive. Where was our infinitive? Mark that in your book. Sumere, right? So now let's go back and work out this relative clause, which is telling us more about what word? Homo, okay? So a man, qui ventrem malum habet, who has a bad stomach, okay, now in this case, it's not male, okay, it's not male here, it's malum, has a bad stomach. It is modifying the word ventrem, so it is an adjective, okay? All right, just like we've learned before. So a man who has a bad stomach is not able to take up or pick up or digest food. Qui quibum sumere non potest, non sanus, sed aeger est. So a person who is not able to pick up food or take up food, right, or digest food, all right, I've gotten across that far enough, is not sanus, is not, what do you think that means? He's not sanus, he's aeger. So he's not healthy, but is sick. Okay, So 2 new adjectives here, sanus, sana, sanum, means healthy. Aiger, aigra, aigrum, means sick. Homo sanus ventrem bonum, pulmones bonos, cor bonum habet, which I hope each one of you have. All right, a man, a sanus homo, a healthy man. Now we'll go to the verb, okay, and we have lots of accusatives in a list. So we go to the verb next. So a healthy man, sanus is modifying homo, a healthy man, habet, that's our verb at the end of the sentence, has 3 things. A ventrem bonum, okay, so a good stomach, pulmones bonos, good lungs, and cor bonum, and a good heart. Let me translate it straight up. A healthy man has a good stomach, good lungs, and a good heart. Okay, that is the end of our reading. Oh my goodness, if you made it this far, you are amazing, because I feel like I'm kind of going a little crazy after doing this long. Take a look at your objectives with your mom at the end of that. Before next time, you'll have read section 2 and done some exercises. And again, you're going to need the PDF that I sent that has how to decline the numbers. You're going to need that for exercise 2B when you get there. Let's see, what else did I want to say? I think that might be it. So yeah, send me those 8-eyed monster pictures if you haven't, your test scores if you haven't, and check out that video if you haven't done that too. But please do get permission before, maybe have your mom look at it before you check it out. As we do with any YouTube videos, we always want to make sure that we get our parents' permission before we view those. All right. Well, I do sincerely hope that you have a wonderful weekend, and I will see you again next week. Bye.